Hello, my name is John and today on Mono Story we're going to be talking about Oda's health. So let's get into it and find out what it's all about.
Hey guys, my name is Iñaki and I play this one guy called Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. Right now I'm currently in Tokyo and the reason why I'm here is that I'm gonna go meet Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece.
Oda is a very important figure in the manga and anime community, being the writer of One Piece, a series that has nearly lasted for 30 years. He is consistently showing up to writing this manga and producing some of the highest quality that the series can provide, and has not only shaped manga and anime itself, but also changed Japanese culture. It is also considered to be the face of Shonen Jump. It has recently been stated in Shonen Jump that Oda will need to take a week off. However, it was so sudden that Shonen Jump didn't have the time to publish this within the weekly Shonen Jump, telling us this was very, very quick and could be a possible problem in the future, as well as it may also get worse. Now, this isn't the first time we have experienced this sort of thing happening to a mangaka or writer who is producing high quality manga or anime. In the case of, let's say, Berserk, the writer, Kentaro Miura, suffered an ultimate fate where he had to give up what he had remaining of his life, and that was very unfortunate because his story was unable to get finished. However, in the case of Akira Toriyama, the writer of Dragon Ball, the same thing happened. However, he had completed his story. So in both of these cases, there was a sudden unfortunate situation that caused the deletion of both of these individuals. However, this was due to poor health, which is showing similar to what has happened to Oda in the current time. We can also talk about Hunter x Hunter and the writer Yoshihiro Togashi, and how even though he's still able to write Hunter x Hunter, his body has deteriorated, so he struggles to write it. And now when we see a manga panel, it doesn't follow the simple conventions of what manga should be, which is less writing, more action, or more panels that show what is happening in the story, as manga is supposed to show what happens through its pictures or its panels. And so with this situation where Togashi is ill from his back being in a great deal of pain, this might have a lead-on effect and similarities to Oda and his current status in his illness. Now, why may Oda be suffering these things is because currently the manga is going through what is known as the God Valley incident, or explaining to us the God Valley arc, essentially. And this part of the story is one of, if not the most important part of the story, because it tells us a lot of different things that are going to happen. It shows us Kuma and Ivankov, for example, as well as Dragon and Garp, and all of the crew from both Rox and Roger. So this arc also has a lot of things that are going to play important roles into the future. I mean, it even just showed us recently the relationship between Rayleigh and Shaki and how that actually works. And it's a really interesting story there. But the point I'm making is that Oda has a lot of stress, because if he makes a mistake now in this arc, in this specific point, it may affect his story going forward maybe 2-3 years. So he needs to be on point to make this arc very well. It's not like with Wano, where if he made a mistake or error in that arc, it was still contained to that section of the story from Punk Hazard to Wano. So if there was any issues or anything he'd made an error on, he could just push it away to the side or retcon it. But in the God Valley, this incident is one of the most important incidents. We have to find out things like, how did Rox disappear? Was he deleted? Was he betrayed? Shanks and Garling, and how they were separated. And continuing on with that, why is Dragon there in the first place? And that makes God Valley the most important part, which is, I think, playing a serious role onto Oda's health and his stress levels. There is also the additional problem where Oda has a lot of different responsibilities outside of writing One Piece. There's things like the live action series, there are things like merchandising, as well as specific ads or advertisements that require Oda's oversight. So he's very much in a lot of different aspects a part of this series than just writing, and so it causes his health, especially after 20 to 30 years. He isn't as young as he used to be. At some point he's going to get older and older, so he's going to start deteriorating and struggle to continually write One Piece. Now, looking into the future of One Piece and what this may have upon the publication of One Piece, I think Oda is running on borrowed time. Time is running out for Oda to finish One Piece, and Shonen Jump need to recognize his health is deteriorating at a slow but at a rate that is somewhat getting worse. And I think Shonen Jump may need to change the publishing of One Piece. Now, I already know that One Piece changed from being a weekly to every 3 weeks and 1 week break. And that has to be a reason for that, because it wouldn't be a normal thing in Shonen Jump. However, for Oda, because of his high status, his popularity, and the fact that One Piece is the face of Shonen Jump, without One Piece there is no Shonen Jump, which I could argue that's somewhat true, because there's always going to be a new series coming out that will not replace One Piece. It will not be maybe as big as One Piece. It may be on a different level and provide a different quality. And so Shonen Jump firstly should be mindful of what is going on with Oda and help him finish at least up to the Elbaf arc, including the Elbaf arc itself, because we still have things like what's Imu doing there, what's Frankie doing at the science lab looking thing with 3,000 years old. We still have to find out what Luffy's doing with Loki and Sanji and Zoro. They're still on Elbaf, and so without finishing that, I think the story will struggle, or there'll be a lot of problems going forward. So first, Oda should, before doing anything, get over the health concerns, and then try to finish off the God Valley incident and Elbaf. And then once we've done that, I want Shonen Jump to give him 1 year. Let him relax, do other responsibilities, nothing to do with writing. And I understand it's tough, even for me. I love him to write every week, but look, I don't want him to end up like Miura with Berserk and it's gone, or Akira Toriyama and it's gone. So give him the year, let him do his other responsibilities, let him focus on making the story to the end of One Piece, finding the One Piece, becoming the Pirate King, defeating Imu and anything else in between that. And then when the story is finished, he's done. He relaxes, he does whatever other responsibilities, because at this point he's not writing for any other reason other than the passion of writing. He doesn't need the money, he doesn't need the fame, he doesn't need the wealth. He has everything he could ever desire. I can tell you right now, myself, even though I bought half my books secondhand, I own every single volume that they've published as of today. If I'm one person, that's 120 odd volumes. Now imagine that times by 10, 1,000, 10,000, and then you're talking worldwide. He doesn't need to be writing anymore, but he's writing because he doesn't want his story to end up like something that has no passion at the end. It's rushed. He wants a fully proved, beautifully written story that has elegance, insight, bigger plot points and ideas, and characters that last beyond time itself. That is why he is still writing to this day. And that is my thoughts on Oda's health. I hope he gets better in the future, and I hope that Shonen Jump shows him the respect he needs. And in the future, I think Shonen Jump should start looking at this as a big problem with their series. They shouldn't need to have a series running for so long, consistently producing every week. What they should be looking at is a new model, because at some point this is going to happen to other mangaka or other writers. And so if Shonen Jump keeps up with this model of producing weekly and not giving their writers any form of breaks, then they are eventually going to have health problems. It is consistently happening in the manga community, with writers becoming ill with permanent damage, if not being deleted, which is very serious because their hearts cannot maintain the blood flow. So Shonen Jump and other publishers need to understand that even though these people are producing high volumes of beauty, of art, and some story that is so unique that it cannot be replicated 100% in another person's or in this lifetime, then Shonen Jump need to stop, think about what they're doing, and maybe think about the writers more than the money they receive from their manga sales. And that is something that will be probably brought up in the future. But that's all I have to say. But look, I want to hear what you have to say about Oda's health. Do you think this is going to be a problem in the future or not? So if you would like to write down in the comment section, please do so and I'll respond as soon as possible. Thank you so much for listening today. If you haven't already liked, subscribed and pressed the bell button, please do so. My name is John from Mono Story, and until next time, I will see you on another Mono Story.